There we go. We're live. Okay. Sorry, I had a lot of microphone issues. Sorry for the late podcast. Right, we're gonna do this every week. I should have been on time. I like to apologize for that. But welcome to the Coop, featuring your host Cooper Stevens. Okay. In this podcast, we're going over the 2026 Skyhawks fantasy football season. Supposed to make one last week. I just sent a review out instead for everyone to go look at. If you haven't checked that out, go look at it already. It's in the sleeper chat. We're going to be going over a lot of things this week. Matchups, as well as trade rumors, power rankings, my predictions for next week as far as the matchups go. So yeah, we have a lot to go over, but first I'd like to give a word to sponsors, okay? Number one, Jackson Runs. For all my runners out there, definitely go check it out. That kid makes great time. It's a great page for running enthusiasts. Number two, Sky Reed 8, food reviews, okay? If you're looking for a spot out in Utah County or Davis County, he's got you covered. Got plenty of places that he goes over. And then lastly, Marked by Marin. Marked by Marin, she does banners for events. If you have an event coming up, go check it out. Okay, we used her for our fantasy football draft the other week, and it was fantastic. So yeah, go check those out. So I kind of want to go from the top to bottom of matchups, of importance. Obviously, the number one seed this last week was, and the week before, obviously, he had 156, but we're going to talk about puzzles. So the reason why I want to start off with puzzles first and foremost is because of the fact that they only undefeated team in the league right now. Widely considered the number one team by far. A lot of people are saying it's not even close right now. Coming off a championship, 156 points in week one, and then 145 in week two. So he's the first team to actually cross that 300-point threshold. Number one team by far, best wide receiver core in the league. A lot of people are making the case for Trevor's team. I don't buy into it. I think that it is undisputed number one puzzles, okay? He went up against the opposite side of the spectrum, Insane Institution. Bottom one, by far. The only team in the league that hasn't recorded a win this season so far, which, it is only week 3. A lot of people are trying to give him credit because of the fact that he has those suspended players. Sometimes we look at Insane Institution and he lets his heart speak for him. He's in a lot of trade talks for his Chargers players, as well as, he's got, who's that one guy that's been on his team the past few years? Breece Hall. He's had Breece Hall on his team for 3 years straight now. So yeah, there is adjustments that can be made. I doubt he's going to end the bottom team in the league, but as of right now, definitely the 10th seed. So as far as, finalizing that matchup, Rocky, obviously number one, 300 fantasy points, and then Brody, very bottom of the league with 231 fantasy points. Next matchup that I do want to go over, Nick Chubb versus Team Brain Frazier. Okay. Not the most exciting matchup of all time. Obviously, Nick Chubb, Amon-Ra is over there. I think he had the highest fantasy points so far this entire season. It's a team you got to look out for every year, though. Dawson is a household name in this league. You can't count out that team. But Team Brain Frazier looks great as well. He had like 80 points on his bench alone last week. I'd put him at number 5 in my power rankings as well. 266 points is where he's at. And then as far as Nick Chubb goes, he's going to be my 7th right now. Next up, we got to talk about B&M Andrews and Real Boston Richie. Real Boston Richie was another one that, I feel like the league sort of said he was coming out the gate super quick. But in reality, if you look at last week's scores, he loses just about any other team. He got lucky that he went up against Dawson. Dawson was probably the worst team of the week last week. Didn't even crack triple digits. Real Boston Richie, we're going to have to put him down on the power rankings a little bit. This puts Chris B&M Andrews, this puts him at the number 6 with 258 fantasy points. Real Boston Richie, Tete's team, 239 fantasy points, is going to be number 8. Okay. Next up, the Hoser Hut versus Landon Dickerson, and then the owners of the team. So it's kind of funny, like I said earlier, I don't have anything to do with Hoser Hut. It's a greatly ran team. I don't really know who's running it this year. I know last year they were going by a different name, and the year before that they were Hoser Hut. So I think it was sort of just like an awkward teenage phase, I guess, for the Hoser Hut and their organization. But yeah, last week, 150-something fantasy points for Hoser Hut. They came out the gates punching. This week, 136, not a horrible week, but obviously you can see that number on the right there, 177 from Trevor Polson's team. That's a big week. That is the highest, obviously, that we have seen so far in this season. I mean, if you just look at the squad here, Jonathan Taylor with 29, Jamar Chase at 36, and then the rest of the team just very deep. I believe it was Nick Chubb, general manager Dawson Hall, actually sent a message into the group saying, who let Trevor assemble the Avengers? And I couldn't agree more. This team looks amazing. As far as the loss for the Hoser Hut, I wouldn't take this to heart. I still believe this is the top 3 team in the league. In fact, Hoser Hut, right now, 290 fantasy points so far, 1-1 record. He's going to be the number 2 in my power rankings right now. And then you have Trevor's team, Landon Dickerson. They're going to actually be number 3 despite this victory over him. And then lastly, okay, we've got U of Penix, which is Jackson Black's team, and then you have ICBK, it's McKay's team, okay? Again, there's not really a crazy amount to go over here. It was a close game, and then you had Jacoby Myers actually winning the matchup for Jackson. It was a close game. Obviously, both of these teams, there's not really as much to go over. I mean, McKay, the reason why a lot of people are putting Insane Institution over him, he had Tucker Kraft, who had 25 fantasy points, and he still ended up losing. Just not the strongest receiving core out of him so far. You know, you hope that A.J. Brown is able to turn things around, and maybe he will. We'll get into that in a little bit, though. As far as the rest of the rankings go, with this matchup, we're going to have Jackson Black, U of Penix, at the 4th seed with 269 fantasy points. And then McKay's team, ICBK, as the 9th with 237. So the chopping block right now, from what I have, is Real Boston Richie, ICBK, and Insane Institution all going down. Those are the bottom 3 teams, and then there's kind of a reasonably sized gap between the 7th and the 6th, 242 and 258. Anything can change on this rankings. It's my personal opinion. But moving forward, okay, I want to go over some rumors that were addressed over the past week. So number 1, this is kind of obvious. It almost goes without saying, but McKay has actually been shopping A.J. Brown after those 2 horrible performances that he had in week 1 and week 2. We'll see where that goes. I doubt he actually ships him out. I don't know if any team really wants A.J. Brown that badly. And then next, we have a lot of trade rumors to discuss. Okay, so number 1, Puzzle's giving up Quentin Johnston for Jordan Mason. I don't think that turns into anything. I've heard through the grapevine that Brody is potentially, talking to him about it. I don't think it goes through. Hoser Hut is in trade talks right now as well, from what I've heard, with Nick Chubb. Okay, the Hoser Hut was going to give up Garrett Wilson as well as Brian Robinson off the bench for Drake London. Doubt that goes anywhere as well. There was some circulation in this past week about Trevor Polson trying to trade Josh Allen. Another one where I have heard personally that it's not going to turn into anything. I don't think they have any intention to trade anyone, especially after a 177-point week. This one's the big one. And I'd seriously, there's no way that it actually goes through. It would be absolutely unreal. Okay. It's a 3-team trade between Insane Institution, Braden Frazier, and Real Boston Richie. Okay. We'll start with Real Boston Richie's portion. They would be gaining Jordan Mason and Rome. Again, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but they'd be gaining Jordan Mason and Rome. And then let's skip down to Insane Institution's part. All right. They would be gaining Nico Collins, Omarion Hampton, Travis Hunter, and Chuba Hubbard. Okay. Then you have Braden Frazier. In this trade, Braden Frazier, of course, he's given up a lot. He would be gaining Justin Jefferson. Okay. Unreal. And unreal that we're even having rumors about this trade, and I doubt it turns into anything, but that would change the league. And I hope that something like that does come around. Who knows? I doubt it. Again, it's just another one that I think is going to fizzle into nothing. It's too big, especially with Braden Frazier already finding early success in this season. I doubt anything comes of it. And then lastly, I want to go over the matchups for this next week. Number 1, Puzzles versus the Hoser Hut, right? This is pretty much the consensus number 1 versus the consensus number 2 right now. I'm going to put the slight edge to Puzzles. I just don't think that is a ball that is going to stop rolling anytime soon. Next, we got Dawson and Nick Chubb versus Chris Hansen and the brothers. I'm going to give the edge to Nick Chubb. I definitely think that he got the ball rolling. I think it's going to be a flurry of win after win after win for them. Then we've got McKay or Chase Brown versus Insane Institution. I think this one can go either way. You know, this is the bottom 2 teams in the league right now. I think AJ Brown is due for a good game. Probably put the slight edge to McKay's team right now. Then we've got Jackson Black versus Trevor Polson. U of Penix versus Landon Dickerson. Okay, I think that I'm going to give the edge to Landon Dickerson on this one, or Trevor's team. Lastly, we've got Team Brain Frazier versus Real Boston Richie. I don't know. This one's kind of difficult as well. Rome really is kind of the difference maker. That's why it could go either way. If Rome wasn't in the question, I would definitely be choosing Real Boston Richie right now. So if I had to choose, I'm probably going to give the edge to Brain Frazier, but it's another one that could go either way. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to be doing this every week. I'm probably going to post on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, though. Filming on Tuesday, posting on Wednesday. There probably won't be a podcast next week. I will be out of town. I'll try and figure something out. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Expect a lot more of this. We're going to have a great fantasy year. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.